pleased to be here with my colleagues, Premier Aguirre as well as Premier Simpson. I think this is an incredibly important day, and also start by honoring that we're on the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe people. And we're very happy to be here today for an incredibly important conversation. I want to thank my colleagues who have just taken on the role as chair of Northern Premiers, and so they've given me an opportunity to share some opening words with you. I guess I'll start by saying, look, I think that from my perspective, I've said all along that we have to prepare for what's coming next week. There was not any doubt that we would be dealing with tariffs. I think it was always about trying to minimize the impact after the initial conversation points that were made by the president-elect. We know the tariffs are going to hurt both countries. It's very clear. It's going to have a negative impact. That was exactly the message that I conveyed to Donald Trump Jr. When I met with him in North Carolina in December, that this was not good for either one of our countries, and that there's an opportunity for us to prosper working together as independent sovereign nations. We know we've always been good neighbors. We've played by the rules as Canadians, and but now it's time to ensure that we prepare ourselves for next week. And so I think that will be an incredibly important part of the work that will happen today. I think I would also just like to mention, I know my counterparts will speak, my colleagues will speak specifically about the work that we've always been doing as Northern leaders, whether it be the work that we've been doing or the leaders that have come before us. This is a moment in time for the North and the Arctic. I mean, the conversations that are now topical for everybody to cover here today are the things we've been talking about for years and years, and our predecessors have talked about this. So whether, it's the importance of what we can contribute to a modern supply chain around critical minerals, as we see investment from the US and Canada coming into the North, or it's the conversation we've had around defense or the vulnerability of the Arctic. These are all incredibly important things. We've had good support from our colleagues at the table. And media, that every communique that's come out over the last number of years, we get support from coast to coast to coast. But now everybody knows that this isn't just important for our country, but it will define the relationship with the US, and this will be an important part of the negotiations that happen between our countries. So I just want to also touch on the fact that I want to thank Premier Legault. I think for all of us, we're proud every day that we watch the horrendous situation in LA, but we watch these brave individuals from Quebec with their super scoopers making sure that people in LA are safe. And I think what I would say to that is, isn't that just embody who we are as Canadians, stepping up at this time when things are quite difficult between our countries. So I want to commend those folks from Quebec, and I know that we've offered up help, and many of our colleagues have, but that's just symbolic of what kind of neighbors we've always been. So with that, I want to hand it over to my colleague, to Premier Aguirre, and as well Premier Simpson. Thank you.
Ya, kuyanami sivulotti kuyanami tiapunga tautavani kataunagama tana pimarjuang utiligo katimagutiginiata sivulottinen. First off, I want to say thank you as well. I'm very honored to be able to be here with you all, especially with my very good friends, with Ranj and RJ as well. We know the potential impact the tariffs will have, not only across the south, but right into the north as well. We already see the highest cost of living. We see the challenges across the north, and we know the potential tariffs that we know are coming will impact all of us. And it's so important to show the unity as Canadians and the opportunities that are there that I had mentioned earlier. Nunavut provides incredible critical mineral right now. We look at the iron ore mine in Nunavut that supplies the world with the purest iron ore deposit that is the biggest GDP provider. It provides about 25% of the GDP to the territory. It employs thousands of Canadians from across the country that will potentially be impacted as well. And speaking to them is something that is really concerning. But it just shows you the connection we have between the North and South and the challenge that's before us, but also the opportunities that are there. The real focus I really wanted to push is the work that we are doing on infrastructure and opportunity for Canada to take a leading role in taking nation building. And from that viewpoint, there's an incredible push, and as Ranj just mentioned, there's been strong support between our colleagues from coast to coast to coast of expediting and investing in NATO's 2%. And we really see that as an opportunity specifically to the Arctic to the north to do exactly that, to build nation building projects. The one project that I would really want to highlight is the Grays Bay Road and Port project specifically. That could both serve the Navy, the Canadian Coast Guard, it's right on the Northwest Passage, but also unlock incredible critical mineral potential within our territory. Perhaps I'll just finish and allow my colleague here to speak as well, then we'll be open to questions as well. And so with that in mind, I really think it's important when we start looking at these investments that we invest in our communities. It's healthy communities that shape our sovereignty to the Arctic. There's been global attention, as we've seen with our very good friends and our family across in Greenland, and the opportunity where we do see, but it requires investments in our communities to create healthy and prosperous communities. And as such, we really see that opportunity utilizing the NATO 2% to invest in infrastructure, which we know is much needed. So with that, perhaps I'll let my colleagues speak, and then we'll be open for questions after.
Thank you. Let's see. There we go. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. I look forward to these meetings today. I think it's very important that we come together as political leaders from across Canada, given this threat that we are facing from a foreign actor. But I think that it's also important for us as Canadians, as political leaders, as business leaders, as members of the public, to take this opportunity and reflect and ask ourselves, why are we in this situation? Why do we have an economy that can be crushed on a whim by a president? For years, we have been fueling the American economy with oil. We've been fueling American innovation with our critical minerals. Why don't we have that capacity to refine that oil here in Canada? Why don't we have that pipeline infrastructure to take that to markets around the world? Why aren't we refining more critical minerals here in Canada? We need to invest in infrastructure. We don't even have the roads to go access the resource-rich areas in Canada to take advantage of our natural advantages. I am big on partnerships, and I know we're always going to have a strong economic relationship with the United States, but we can't be reliant on the United States. We need to reduce that reliance by investing in Canada, in projects that will allow all Canadians to fully participate and contribute to a thriving economy. That's why we talk about these nation-building projects. It's not just refining capacity and pipelines. We need infrastructure in the north so that we can contribute to a strong and prosperous Canada that is not reliant on the United States. That's why I talk about the Mackenzie Valley Highway, the Slave Geological Province Road that would connect to Grays Bay, give us a base on the Northwest Passage. These are the big projects that we as a country need to come together and put our minds to and put to action. Because if we don't, we are passing the same problem on to our children and grandchildren. In 50 years, I don't want the Premier from the Northwest Territory to be up here talking about the same problem, how we are threatened by the United States and their economic power. So I think that there's plenty of work to be done now, in the present, in the coming weeks, but we really need to put our minds to the long term. Thank you. You know, I look forward to these meetings today so that we can have those conversations as premiers. Thank you.
No, I think that right now, let's see if I can do this here. I think what we're probably not going to do is negotiate on the floor in the middle of this media scrum. I think right now it's what we're doing is we're going to the table. I think the first key thing that we want to see today is that we want to actually have clarification on what the operational plan is of what the roles and responsibilities are. I mean, we had an FMM meeting early in December. It was a good meeting. We rolled out a plan, Minister LeBlanc and others rolled out a plan that they put together in a short period of time. I need to say this on behalf of Yukoners to you. I wear this responsibility as well as my federal counterparts. As Canadians, we have to look in the mirror and think, in 7 days, we put together $1 billion plan to deal with our border and fentanyl, and think of the tens of thousands of people that we've lost in this country in every province and territory for the last number of years. And a tweet was the catalyst for us to actually all come together as a country to deal with a problem that's like devastating our cities and communities. So I want to put that aside. We need to take a look in the mirror, every one of us, when it comes to that. But no, we are in a position where we're coming today. We want to know what the plan is so that we can wake up tomorrow, or at least that's my prerogative, and my colleagues may have unique positions on this. But I want to understand after the 20th, how we're going to engage with the U.S. What's the role as the premiers? What is the role? What's the prime minister's role going to be? What is Minister LeBlanc, Minister Jolie, and Minister Champagne going to do? Let's be coordinated, because as much as we all have had some criticism as premiers over the last little while, that there has been maybe some disjointed activity, part of what we've asked for is a blueprint on how to actually engage. And that's what today is about. So let's make sure today we have clarity about what everybody's roles are. Sure. Do you want to jump in? I'm good, or one of you guys can. Look, I'll start and just say this. I think everybody seems to be coming to the table. The tone that I see is everybody's going to come to the table. I don't think that anybody today, at least from our standpoint, is going to come out and lay out a list of items. But I think that what you're seeing is all premiers from all territories and provinces are coming. They know what worked before. That's been reflected in our meetings at COF. They know that having those tools in the toolbox have been effective previously. We know that it can be a significant impact. We're all here to make sure. I'm here to make sure that jobs and the economy of the Yukon are protected, but I'm also here to make sure that I collectively arm in arm with my colleagues to make sure that Canadian jobs and business and economy is protected. So collectively, I think, we will come to the table, and I think probably everybody's ready to lean in. That's my sense at this particular time.
Thank you so much. We have to wrap it up. That's all the time that we have.
Well, as you know, Catherine, we don't know. We know that there's something's coming down. We know there's, I think what we've been informed, I think this is accurate, that there's 100 orders going to be signed off right away. We don't know what the list looks like. We know that this could be really significant. We know that the business leaders in the country are incredibly concerned. You've seen some output today. We know that the projected impact is significant. We know that this could mean, significant impact to our GDP and how many quarters it lasts. So, yeah, this is not a good situation. This is what he led with. He has stuck to it. And our job right now is to minimize the impact of what rolls out. And if it's about him sticking to his word on what he's going to do, how do we curtail that in as quick amount of time as possible? And there's people that are in the room today at the federal level and provincial level that have been through this a bit before. And we just need to be able today to have the appropriate response and have the tools in the toolbox to go at it. Thank you.
Excellent. Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue à cette rencontre des premiers ministres ici à Ottawa. We have had over the years, including often in this room, many really consequential First Ministers meetings. Many of you have been at a number of them. Some of you are new. Welcome to these conversations. We've talked about everything from climate to health to COVID to issues that matter deeply for Canadians. And this is certainly a moment to gather and reflect on challenges and opportunities in the relationship with the United States. It's great to see everyone here now. Thank you. Thank you for coming together. This is important, obviously, for us to do the work to pull together, but it's also an important moment for Canadians to see us coming together to deal with the most important relationship. I'd like to highlight that we are also joined virtually by two of our colleagues, Danielle Smith and David Eby, who weren't able to be here in person, but it's important that everyone be here around the table, virtually or in person, to be able to make sure that every corner of the country is heard in its particular and deep relationship with the United States. I'm joined here around the table by Ministers Leblanc and Joly, who've been working very, very hard on the Canada-US file over the past many months, but also by our ambassador in Washington, Kirsten Hillman, who, as you all know, has been leading this relationship extremely ably on the ground in Washington. I also bring the regards of the National Indigenous Organizations. I sat down with the leadership of First Nations, Inuit and Métis earlier this morning to get their perspective, to talk about the need for all of us across this country to be standing up in the best interests of Canadians and looking to deepen and advance the most important relationship, international relationship we have with the United States. Avec une nouvelle administration américaine, il y a des opportunités et des défis. Donc, ça va être important pour se rassembler pour parler de l'intérêt des Canadiens et des emplois, de la croissance économique. Our First Ministers meeting today will have two main themes. The first one we're going to cover is opportunities for increased and deepened partnership with the United States. The second theme this afternoon and after lunch will be our response to possible tariffs. Il y a deux thèmes de notre conversation aujourd'hui. Tout d'abord, les opportunités qu'on a dans notre dynamique avec les Américains, avec la nouvelle administration, des opportunités de croissance, d'emploi, de partenariat plus approfondi. Et deuxièmement, après le lunch, on va parler des tarifs potentiels et comment on peut et on pourrait et devrait répondre à ces tarifs-là. On the opportunities for partnership, there's a number of different things. First of all, on borders, Dominic is going to present to you all the different elements of our massive border plan. It features three main issues. First of all, the joint fight against illegal drugs, particularly fentanyl. We have been working on this for a number of years, but there are a number of measures that we're going to be able to step up on and do more on. That's extremely important to the incoming administration. It actually is one of the key elements that they expressed most concern about. So that's the first part of the borders issue. La deuxième partie sur nos frontières, c'est de maintenir et de renforcer la sécurité de nos frontières de façon en partenariat avec les États-Unis. Joint continued management of border security is really going to matter to people, and there are elements on that. And the third element on borders is in ensuring the continued integrity of our immigration systems. That is something that is obviously a political pressure in the United States that we can demonstrate a strong response to, and Dominic will be getting into that. But the other opportunities for partnership on energy and critical minerals, we all know in 2023, for example, the US imported about $123 billion worth US worth of energy into the US. It is an extraordinarily important relationship for them that powers their jobs, their industry, their homes. We need to continue that, and we can even do more on energy, as I know they want to. Critical minerals represent a key area of development as well, where we have the ingredients in the technological transformation of our economies that the Americans need. If they don't get them from Canada, they'll get them from China. And if they can't get them from Canada or China, they don't get them from anywhere. And that is going to be a real issue for them. So there's lots of opportunities for us to deepen that. We also are going to be talking about the joint defense of our continent, which obviously leans in heavily on Arctic sovereignty, where we have specific responsibilities and made significant investments. There's also lots of procurement opportunities with Americans as we increase the ability to protect Canadians in a more complex and unstable world. Obviously, that's something that we have made significant investments in, close to tripling our defense spending between 2015 and 2030, but there's always more to do. Bottom line on opportunities is strengthening the strongest trade relationship in the world and creating jobs on both sides of the border. That's what this is all about. So that's what we'll spend our morning on. This afternoon, we're going to dig into the response to possible tariffs. We will have already been and will continue to be united in standing up for all Canadians, standing up for the national interest. And a big part of that is actually defending and promoting the most successful economic relationship the world has ever seen, in the face of shifting geopolitical pressures and realities. We are the best friend to Canada, and we can do lots of things together, and we need to make sure that doing those things together is as easy and as beneficial on both sides of the border as it possibly can be. So that's what we'll talk about this afternoon. Finally, let me just say that this First Ministers meeting on Canada-US relations is important because every different region of the country has a deep relationship with our single biggest trading partner, and making sure that the interests and the concerns of all Canadians are fed into our national response, our national perspective, and the way Canadians, we've already seen, are ferocious about standing up for our interests, our sovereignty in a number of ways over the past while. They'll be looking to us to make sure that together we are demonstrating that Canada is looking for that win-win, looking for that continued and deepened great relationship with the United States that will be beneficial to all of us. On se rassemble ici parce que c'est important que les Canadiens puissent voir et que le monde puisse voir à quel point nous sommes unis dans l'intérêt national de tous les Canadiens, avec toutes les particularités de les relations à travers le pays, qu'on va être là pour défendre les Canadiens et le Canada. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you all. I'm now very happy to pass it over to the chair of the Council of the Federation to give a few public remarks before we roll up our sleeves and get into it. Turning to you, Doug.
Well, thank you so much, Prime Minister, and thank you for calling this meeting. I want to acknowledge our great group of premiers. I always say this is the greatest group of premiers I've ever seen, from right across the country, from coast to coast to coast, but all different political stripes. And also want to acknowledge the ambassador and the great ministers. And I know Minister LeBlanc had an opportunity to come by yesterday. We had a great discussion on border security. I look forward to seeing it being in. Well, it was a phenomenal plan. Now we have to implement that phenomenal plan and have our minister, or your minister, I should say, get out there and explain that to the people. Prime Minister, you also mentioned about NATO meeting our 2%. I have to give a shout out to Premier Wab Kinew. He's leading the charge on that. There you are, Wab, absolute champion when it comes to that. So thank you for your leadership on that file. We also need to learn more about where the government's retaliatory tariffs. I'm a strong believer in retaliatory tariffs. You can't let someone hit you over the head with a sledgehammer without hitting them back twice as hard, in my opinion. We're also eager to learn more about other considerations that we can hit back beyond the tariffs. And lastly, we need to hear from the federal government about how quickly and effectively the support comes to workers and businesses through the tariffs that we receive. It's absolutely critical. We get it out to the people as quickly as possible. Over the past several months, I know all my colleagues in our federal government have been reaching out to the people in their jurisdictions, reaching out to union members, reaching out to businesses, but reaching out to our counterparts in the U.S. And I can tell you, I'll just speak for myself, not for the federation, but every U.S. elected official I speak to, governor, Congress person, or senators, I'm not hearing that they support going after Canada. What I hear is they have an issue with China, not Canada. And we just have to continue reaching out to our counterparts and friends and business people down in the US because it's not productive at all. And I'm just so proud of everyone stepping up to be part of Team Canada. Part of being Team Canada means recognizing and respecting each other's provinces and territories. I know everyone has different areas that they're very concerned about. We have to respect their concerns, but nothing is more important than the country. Country comes first over the jurisdictions, and this is my opinion. It also means, working together, going out there and working as a team, Team Canada, but it also means using every tool in our toolbox. We need to enter these negotiations from a position of strength with as much leverage as possible. I've been in business for years, like a lot of people around this table. I've been in politics for years. You don't go into a meeting or negotiation showing the opposition what sort of cards you have in your hand. It doesn't work that way. And rest assured, if we use every tool, Canada has a lot of leverage, as you were saying, Prime Minister. And again, we'll be dealing through strength, not weakness. Moving forward, premiers need the regular meeting of engagement, either with yourself, Prime Minister, or one of your ministers. They both are doing a great job. And the ambassador, again, I want to thank you for communicating, being down in Washington, reaching out to counterparts and just making sure the U.S. understands our message. We are not the enemy. We're your closest ally, we're your closest friend. As I've always said, the AMCAN fortress. We work together. We can be the strongest, richest, wealthiest, safest countries in the world if we stick together and we work together. So thank you, and I'll pass it back to you, Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Doug. I'll thank our friends in the media. We'll speak with you guys again later in the day, but thank you very much for being here. Like I said, we'll get right into it. We're going to start with an opportunity to go into the border plan. Dominic's going to present the agenda in front of you.